The Song of Hannah's Heart. Long ago, in the rolling hills of Ephraim, lived a woman named Hannah. Her home was filled with the scent of baking bread and the sound of rustling olive trees, but Hannah's heart felt as quiet and empty as a hollow jar. While others celebrated the laughter of children, Hannah walked in silence. She carried a great sadness because she had no child of her own, and she wondered if her quiet whispers for a son would ever be heard. To make matters harder, Hannah shared her home with Peninnah. Peninnah did not understand Hannah's quiet sorrow. Instead of offering a kind word, Peninnah pointed out Hannah's empty arms and boasted about her own many sons and daughters. Her words were like sharp thorns that made Hannah's heart ache even more, turning her days of celebration into days of tears. Hannah's husband, Elkanah, loved her very much. He would bring her the best portions of the feast and sit by her side. "Hannah, why do you weep?" he asked gently, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Am I not better to you than 10 sons?" Hannah appreciated his love, but the ache inside her was a prayer that only God could answer. She knew she needed to find a place where she could speak her whole heart. Every year, the family traveled to the city of Shiloh to visit the tabernacle, the house of God. The air there was thick with the smell of incense and the sound of songs. While the others finished their meal, Hannah slipped away. She walked toward the entrance of the tabernacle, her footsteps heavy. She didn't want a feast. She wanted a father who would listen to the deepest parts of her soul. Inside the courtyard, Hannah fell to her knees. She didn't pray with loud words or grand gestures. Instead, her lips moved silently, trembling with the weight of her grief. She told God everything: how lonely she felt, how much she longed for a son, and how she would give that son back to God's service if her prayer was answered. She was pouring out her soul, letting her tears speak the words she couldn't find. Nearby, an old man named Eli sat on a chair by the doorpost of the tabernacle. He was the high priest, and he had seen many people come to pray. He watched Hannah's trembling lips and her shaking shoulders. Because he couldn't hear any words, he misunderstood her. He thought she was acting strangely because she had drank too much wine at the festival feast. Eli called out to her, "How long will you make a scene? Put away your wine." Hannah looked up, her eyes clear despite her tears. "No, my lord," she replied bravely. "I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have not drunk wine, but I have been pouring out my soul before the Lord." She spoke with such honesty that Eli's heart immediately softened. Eli realized that Hannah was carrying a burden he couldn't see. He raised his hand in a blessing and said, "Go in peace, and may the God of Israel grant your petition that you have asked of him." At those words, the heavy cloud over Hannah's heart began to lift. She believed that God had heard her. She went back to her family, and for the first time in a long time, she was able to eat, and her face was no longer sad. The seasons turned, and the olive trees bloomed and faded. True to his promise, God remembered Hannah. She gave birth to a beautiful baby boy and named him Shemuel, which means asked of God. Every time she held him, she remembered the silent prayer she had whispered in the shadows of the tabernacle. Her heart was no longer a hollow jar. It was overflowing with gratitude. When Samuel was old enough, Hannah remembered the promise she had made. With a heart full of love and courage, she took him back to Shiloh. She found Eli and showed him the boy. "I am the woman who stood here praying," she reminded him. Hannah dedicated Samuel to God's service, knowing that he was a gift she was now sharing with the world. She learned that no prayer is too quiet for God to hear, and no heart is too broken for him to mend.